Welcome to the Art of Photography. My name is Ted Forbes, and today we got some stuff we're going to do, but first I want to kick it off with a few announcements. First of all, I've set up a group on Flickr, so if you're a subscriber and you want to be able to ask questions to other viewers, view work of other viewers, post some of your own work, you can do that now. And the address for that is www.flickr.com/groups/Art of Photography. So hope you go there, join the group, and submit some stuff and ask some questions, because I was trying to think of a way that I could kind of get some interaction between myself and the viewers. So if you have questions you want me to answer on the show, things like that, it's probably a good place to do it right now. Also, another announcement that I'm pretty excited about here is my friend Michael Billert has just finished his darkroom, and he has a duplex that he lives in, and he's turned a good half of it into this shooting space it's really nice. He's got a nice shooting space, large format cameras that you can rent, lights, and he has a full darkroom in there that'll do up to 16 by 20 prints, which is really cool. And it also features a kitchen, so if you're into food photography, that's a place you can do stuff like that. Anyway, I'm going to get Michael on the show, and we're actually going to do a couple of these podcasts from the darkroom. We're going to get into darkroom techniques and things like that, and if you're in the Dallas area, his studio will be available for rent, which is going to be really nice. So pretty excited about that. Hope to get Michael on the show in the next week here or so, and start talking about some printing techniques and things like that. Now, down to today's show. I had originally planned to start talking about how lenses work, and why an expensive lens is so expensive and why a cheap lens is not, and what the difference is between the two. But I realized that we get so much into the technical side of things, or I do on here, that I really wanted, before I get into that, is just scrape this down to the bare minimum and give you some stuff that you can take with you. And what I want to talk about, the most simple type of lens that you can possibly find, is what's called a meniscus lens, and usually they're on very, very cheap cameras. And I want to show you a couple of these cheapies today that actually take really good photos, and they're a lot of fun to work with. Now, some of you probably know what a Holga is, and I have a Holga here with me today that I want to show you. Now, the Holga was invented in the 80s, or designed in the 80s in China, and you can still get them today. They've come over the years in various models, but they're all very basic camera. It's got a plastic meniscus lens, which we're going to cover later. Don't worry about that right now. Just know that it's cheap. And they take 120 medium format film. So if you have ever wanted to get into medium format film, if you remember from the old days, 35 millimeter had a very small negative, and medium format has a very large 6 centimeter by 6 centimeter negative. And the Holga is probably the cheapest way to possibly get into high resolution medium format film. Now, high resolution, take with a grain of salt, because these cameras are not very high resolution, but that is the beauty of it. The meniscus lens is probably the cheapest and easiest lens to make, and as a result, it has like all the distortions and all the aberrations and weird depth of field and things that you could possibly look for in a lens. But that works to your advantage, because you can come up with some really arty kind of photos, and actually photos taken on Holgas have gone on to win awards in shows. They're used in photojournalism, all that kind of thing. But basically the Holga is very simple. The viewfinder is up here at the top, and it is connected to the lens in no way, shape, or form. So really all you're doing is using that for framing, okay? And it does have focus controls on the lens. I don't know if you could see that up here. Get a zoom in a second. But basically, you have a choice between, joke around with this, you have one dude, a bunch of dudes, a whole bunch of dudes, and a mountain. So basically it's, portrait, group, and then, long distance photography. And again, part of the fun in here, and again, these are manufactured in China, and there's absolutely no quality control at all. So you'll find that if you have several Holgas, they all look slightly different, which is kind of half the fun, I think, and that's the control that you have to a large extent. Anyway, basically to take a shot, all you do is focus, and then click the shutter, and then you have to actually advance the frame. There's I keep tape over mine because these are prone to light leaks, but you just pull up the tape and you can see the frame number on the back, and you wind it until the next frame shows up. So if I'm on frame 1, take the picture, I wind it to frame 2. It's as bare bones as you could possibly get. I will say this too, and I've not scoped this out on the newer Holgas, but they do have an aperture, a sunny and a cloudy setting, and all the Holgas that I've seen, this is absolutely non-functional whatsoever. If you take it apart and you pop the lens off, you'll notice that there is no aperture change at all. Now, this particular Holga that I'm using was modified by Randy Smith at Holga Mods, and I highly recommend his work. I mentioned him in the last podcast about the pinholes because I have a pin Holga. But he does a couple of these things as far as modifications go, and really this is the Holga that I use. The first thing he did is these older Holgas did not have a tripod socket at all, and he drills one in here. The newer ones have a tripod socket, but it's in the wrong location. They mount the tripod socket on the bottom of the lens, so if you're trying to do panoramic kinds of things where you just advance the frame not an entire way and you are able to assemble, you know, kind of a faux panoramic picture, it won't rotate on the right axis. So that's one thing that Randy corrects on these, which is really nice. The other thing he does is he remounts the lens so you can actually get closer focusing, which, you know, I mean, it's kind of neither here nor there because focusing on a Holga is kind of a relative term anyway. He also puts a tripod release on here, which is what I'm holding in my left hand, and there's a lens jamb in here too, which you can push in and out. And so what that enables you to do is it has a fixed shutter speed right out of the box, and which is usually around 1/100th of a second. And so if you want to do night exposures or any kind of long exposure, you can mount this on a tripod, put the lens jamb in, and then use the tripod release to take your photo, and you just count your seconds for exposure and release, and you're done. Wind it forward. So that's the Holga, and this is a really cool camera. If you have not shot film before, or if you kind of want to get in, or even if you're a seasoned pro and you kind of want to just, you know, the great thing about the Holga is it takes pretty much all the control out of the equation whatsoever, and just forces you to concentrate on making good pictures. And that's one of the things I really love about the Holga. There's some variations on this. You can get pinhole versions. I don't know that they make them anymore, but Holga used to make a glass lens version. Still pretty cheap meniscus lens, but it was just made out of glass instead of plastic, and they marketed those as a Woka instead of a Holga. So you can find those occasionally. I have one. They have a completely different look to them. But like I said, it takes all the amenities out of photography whatsoever, and you just focus on getting great shots. The Holga manual recommends that you use 400 speed film in here, and that's probably a good benchmark. I would say though that if you're going to be shooting outdoors in bright sunlight, you bump it down to 100 speed. I've found that it just tends to blow them out a little too much, that's actually an incorrect equation to go with, especially if you're using a stock Holga that is just kind of sits the apertures around f13 or so. So you don't have a lot of flexibility there. But again, but you know, then you can control your exposure and things with film speed. I have a filter ring that I've jammed on here, so I can use filters, neutral density filters if I want to reduce the light, or a red filter if I want to increase contrast, that kind of thing. So that's the Holga. And I want to give you, well, first of all, let me tell you that I think the best place to get these if you want to buy one that I've found is Freestyle Photo, and they have a wonderful website. They sell a lot of film supplies on there, and they're just a great outfit in general. I've never had any problems ordering from them. And their website is freestylephoto.biz. And you can get a Holga on there, just a standard Holga. They make the colored flashes and stuff, which if you're into that, you can get a stock Holga on there for $30 or so. Probably a little less, plus shipping. So anyway, so that's where I would do if you want a Holga. Now, another camera that I want to show you, it's another good alternative to this kind of thing, is a box camera. And you can get these. This is an Ansco B2 Cadet camera. And gosh, these are just, I mean, they're pretty much antiques. If you're going to get one of these, definitely check out the condition it's in and make sure it works, first of all. And second of all, I mean, you can get these for like $5, so I guess if you get a dud, it's not the end of the world. But the Ansco Cadet is just about as bare bones as you can get. You don't even have aperture or focus control in here. It's fixed focus camera. These were made, gosh, I want to say probably in the 20s and 30s. Make sure when you buy one of these, this is an Ansco B2, it works fine. Some of them had different weird film sizes, and you want to make sure you get one that will take 120 film. So if you've got one you're looking at on eBay or something like that, what I would definitely do is use Google, check it out, and make sure that it's compatible with 120 medium format. So some of them used 620, which was Kodak standard at the time, and there's some other weird sizes too. There's some big ones like 616, and you can kind of modify them to take the 120 film, but it really, if you're just getting into this just to goof off, it's really easier just to do it right from the start and get something that takes 120 film. These cameras take amazingly sharp photos, and I've had really good results with this. I remember reading in this old photo book one time that, you know, and they were giving the standard old 50s lecture of, you know, you should rely on all the bells and whistles of a camera to take great photos. You should be able to just take really sharp photos with nothing but a box camera. And, you know, I'm reading this in this book, and I kind of thought at that time, you know, they have a good point. Maybe I should challenge myself to do this. So that's why I originally bought this. I was really happy with the results I got. It has two viewfinders. There's one on the top here, and basically it's a simple mirror and a screen, so you can basically frame your composition. I wouldn't place any faith in the accuracy on this thing at all. But anyway, you could shoot either landscape orientation or portrait orientation, and it's got a shutter release, and that's it. Now some of these actually do have the shutter jam in here, so you can actually hold it open and do long exposures at night. This one does not. I just shoot in the day with this. And then once you've taken your picture, you simply use the crank on the side to wind it up, and there's a little red window in the back that will show you your frame number that you're on, and it couldn't get any more bare bones than that. And like I said, you know, if you're a beginner, if you're somebody who's shot digital and you want to get into film, or even if you're a seasoned pro, I think there's all kinds of reasons to shoot on these kinds of cameras. They're cheap, they're obviously inexpensive, they're easy to use, and they really kind of force you to look at photography in a different way, look at composition in a different way, view exposure and things like that in a different way, where you really have to focus and trick it out to get the correct exposure, because you don't have any control on it. So you have to use the film speed, filters, things like that. So anyway, hope that helps you out in some way, shape, or form. But anyway, join us next week. Hopefully we'll get into some darkroom stuff, and visit us online on the Flickr. That address again is www.flickr.com/groups/art of photography. My name is Ted Forbes, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.